So Apple have just had a big press event in Apple Park where they invited loads of press, loads of YouTubers, loads of video creators, loads of tech reviewers. And all of a sudden we're seeing all these things pop up online from all these people about their experiences out there, their experiences in Apple Park, and looking at all the new products and updates that Apple are releasing. So what have they actually announced? Well, we've got the 15-inch MacBook Air. We've got the iOS 17 update for all of their phones and devices. And probably the biggest announcement was the introduction of the Vision Pro goggles. Now, these things look really, really good, although there are a few little issues with them. I mean, don't get me wrong, they cost $3,500. They're not going to be available until next year, and they only last about 2 to 3 hours in a single charge before you need to recharge them, and they are massive. Most people was expecting just like a little pair of sunglasses or glasses, and we end up with these big pair of goggles. But it's a step in the right direction, and Apple really are taking that first big leap into the world of VR. And they want to make a statement to show that they are the best out there, and they are really going to go forward with this. But where does this leave the competition? Well, I've had a look at the two different sides, and I have been iPhone. I think I had the first iPhone 3G when it first came out, all the way up to like the iPhone 6. So I've been well into the Apple camp. And then since then, I transferred over to Android, and I've had Samsungs ever since. So I've been in both camps, in both the Apple and Android. Currently, my wife is on an Apple phone. She has the iPhone 14 Pro, and I currently have a Samsung. So we are in two different camps right now. But I've been looking at this. I've been researching this, been looking into it. I've spoken to some friends, spoken to other creators, and I've really looked into the details of both camps. So I'm going to give you 10 reasons why I think Apple are absolutely destroying the competition. Number one is probably the most obvious one, and it's their ecosystem. Think about the products that Apple have got. Okay, they're very heavily focused into one sort of market, whereas they're probably their closest mobile phone competitor at the moment is Samsung, and they have their fingers in so many pies. They've got so many different devices, so many different brands and products that are out right now. They've got fridges, TVs, they're into pretty much everything. And Apple are just pretty much focused on one market, which is phones, content creation, productivity, and sort of workflow, that sort of thing. And all of their stuff works so seamlessly and so fluidly together. Now let's look at their products. Okay, you've got the iPhone lineup, you've got the MacBook lineup, you've got the MacBook Pro and MacBook Air, you've got their AirPods, you've got the Apple Watch, you've got the iPad, you've got Apple TV, and you've also got the Mac Studio for content creators. And all of these products work so fluidly and seamlessly together, and everything you do just flows into one another. For example, if you have Apple TV and you have the Apple Fitness, you can then do a workout on your TV with your watch on, and it will track your heart rate and your calorie burn and all that as you're doing it, and all that data then goes straight onto your mobile phone afterwards, so you haven't got to worry about it, and it's all right there for you to look at, and you can track it. And that's what makes it so good. The mobile phones at the moment are absolutely incredible. The iPhone camera footage and video footage is some of the best on the market. And if you record at 4K in cinematic mode, then you can pretty much just transfer that and airdrop that straight to your MacBook or your Mac Studio. So that's why Apple's ecosystem is pretty much the best out there. At number two, we have software updates. Now, Apple release regular software updates, and when they do, they normally get rid of any bugs and any issues pretty quickly. And with the introduction of iOS 17, they are always introducing new features, new apps, and new products, which are just going to make the whole process seem much more fun. Now, they might not release as many updates and software updates as other companies like Samsung. They might not be as regular, but when they release them, they are good. They get rid of the bugs. And then their new iOS updates, whenever they update them, they're always really good. Number three is camera and video. Now, this is going to cause a bit of issue in the comment section. Some of you are going to be at war with me here and completely disagree. But let's be honest. Apple's footage on the iPhone, you can record at 4K cinematic mode, and all their other modes you can record in is absolutely brilliant quality. And their photo quality is also really, really good. And when you look at the Samsung compared to the iPhone and the Google compared to the iPhone, and you see loads of videos, loads of YouTubers and loads of other content creators and reviewers all comparing all these phones and the cameras back to back, and there are minimal updates and minimal difference in the different cameras. There's not huge overwhelming differences that make these cameras so much better. And also you got to think that this is one area. So for example, the iPhone cameras are really good. They're at the top of their class. Some would say Samsung are slightly better, or Google, or the Sony, but some would say the Apple are better and Apple's cameras are better. It's subjective on what you think, right? But what you have to look at is it's very minimal differences. And the fact that you can record something in 4K on your phone and then just simply airdrop it to your MacBook for editing, and there's no issues there. It's nice and seamless, and it goes fluidly and it's perfect. That is another reason that makes it worth doing. So if you're on the move and you don't want to take a big bulky camera with you, you can just take your phone, film something, airdrop it to your MacBook, and then edit it away, and it's nice and simple. But the camera and the video footage on iPhone is up there with some of the best in the market. Some would say is the best in the market. Number 4, we have the App Store. Now, this goes in with the ecosystem and ties in nicely with it because Apple has its own App Store. And everything you download from Apple, you know, has been verified and checked, and it is a good app and it's not going to have any issues. Now, there's this whole thing around you can't download third-party apps on an iPhone, and you can't do it. And you always pay the Apple tax, and all the subscriptions and everything's more expensive and costs more than anywhere else. Yes, that's true, and that is a negative to that. But the trade-off you get there is that you get quality apps. You know that everything's going to be quality checked by Apple. You're not getting any issues or buggy problems or anything like that. You know that these are good quality apps that have paid money to be part of Apple's system. Whereas with Android, anything is allowed there. It's a free-for-all. You can pretty much get anything on there, and some apps can cause your devices harm. Which leads me nicely onto privacy and security, number 5. So Apple's devices are known for having huge levels of security. Their end-to-end encryption is completely flawless. The Face ID is brilliant and smooth and seamless, and it's got to the point where some Apple staff can't even get into a phone. Number 6 is build quality and design. Now, design is obviously a subjective thing. Some people love the look of the iPhone, some people hate it. I myself get a bit annoyed at how iPhone don't really change that much about the design every single year, and they focus on one thing when they have a phone release, and how they have dramatically changed the way that things are going to go and everything with this phone. But reality, they've made one update. But to be honest, you don't really need to change it that much. It looks sleek, it looks modern, it looks stylish, and it's a really nice design. Now, Samsung's designs are pretty decent, but with their latest phone, the S23, at the time of this video, it is really blocky and got big squared off edges, and it's just a bit like a thin brick. Whereas with an iPhone, it's smooth, it's got round edges. I prefer that, to be honest. I think it's nicer. And as we know, iPhone are always made out of really good quality materials. They're sturdy, they're decent, and you have really decent customer support if anything ever goes wrong. Which leads me on to number 7, customer support. Now, this was tested recently by Mr. Who's the Boss, who made a video where he damaged an iPhone and a Samsung and then sent them both off to their relative companies to be repaired. He sent the iPhone off to Apple, sent the Samsung off to Samsung. And he went through the whole process of calling their customer support teams, telling them what the problem was. They did an assessment over the phone or whatever it is they did, and Apple just gave out a flat charge of I think it was $450. It was something ridiculous. It was a lot of money. And Samsung said, we need to see the device first and then we'll give you a quote. So with Apple, they just took the charge straight away without even seeing the phone. The phone was sent off and it was repaired. And within 5 days, it come back looking really polished, really nice, looking brand new. And it was excellent the way it was repaired. And he was getting text messages along the way with updates of how it was going. With the Samsung one, it took a long time to get there. They gave a quote, he paid the quote, and then they lost the device. Apparently they couldn't find it. And then eventually it took like 30 odd days to get back to him. And then when it did, it was repaired, which is fine. But it was just the whole process was a lot more unorganized and a bit more all over the place. And with Apple, a nice seamless process, and the phone was fixed. So customer support, Apple is pretty good, and that goes across all of their devices, not just the iPhone. With anything, if you ever have a problem, then you take it to their store or you call them up, and their customer support is really good and they're happy to help you. Now, yes, it will cost you an arm and a leg, which is why you should always have good insurance on your phone or any of your devices. So whether you have Apple Care or any insurance, that's really good. So I have insurance on my phone. I've not got an iPhone just yet, but I do have insurance on my phone. Whereas if I break it, doesn't matter how badly it's damaged, I call up my insurance company. I pay like $50, $60 over the phone, and they will deliver me a brand new device, exactly the same device, a brand new device straight to my door the very next day. So it's worth having insurance. Number 8 is iMessage. Now here in the UK, most people will use WhatsApp, whereas in the US, from what I understand, most people use iMessage, so it's pretty invaluable to people to have that iMessage facility. Now let's take out the US for a moment and talk about here in the UK, where most people don't use iMessage. Now obviously, if you, your wife, your partner, your family all have iPhones, then you're probably going to communicate via iMessage. Now, the difference between that and the normal text messaging system on Samsung, Google, and the other devices is it's just so much better. It's so much more fluid. And they have also introduced in the latest update custom stickers to the point where you can take a photo or a video of absolutely anything or anyone, tap on it, cut that out from the background, and make it a custom sticker which you can save, which you can then add to messages and tag it onto messages, as well as custom emojis and the avatar and all that kind of stuff. They've just got a whole load of features on their iMessage, which just makes it so much better than any other text messaging system. Number 9 is the brand reputation. Now, Apple has a huge reputation and they want to keep it. They want to keep this reputation of being amazing. Whenever they have a product release, you look at the product release or the press release compared to something like Samsung, they always make you feel like you're a family member, like you're at home. If you look at the two differences side by side, and again, different tech reviewers and YouTubers have done comparisons on this, where you've seen a Samsung press release compared to an Apple, or a Google press release compared to Apple, and Apple's always make you feel like a family member. They will show you the Apple Park and say, welcome to this. We are bringing this to you. We are announcing this to you. We're expanding this into our family and all this kind of stuff. They're trying to make you feel like part of the family, and that's their reputation. Plus, their niche, like I said earlier, is down to a certain few products, whereas other companies have such a big, wide variety of things spread across so many different areas that they don't focus on one particular area, whereas Apple and their ecosystem want everything to work seamlessly. They are based around productivity, workflow, content creation, using your phone, using your earpods, using your MacBook Studio, all that kind of stuff. They want everything to be working seamlessly together, and that's the reputation they want to keep. And they're doing a pretty good job of it. You will notice that most content creators don't have sponsorships from Apple because they very rarely do them. They don't feel like they need to. They go off their own reputation. They don't need to give out products for free to say that, here, I have this product for free, and then do a review of it. They feel like they need to do that. And that's the reputation they have. It's also the fact that they want everything to be in the Apple market because they want to be made to feel like something is premium. For example, if you buy a Samsung S23 Ultra, sometimes, like on the product launch, you'll get a free pair of earbuds with it, the Samsung buds. Now, these are like $200 buds, right? They're really good. They're in the top 10 of any earbuds that are out there, but it just makes it feel cheap. I don't know why. It's a psychological thing. It makes it feel cheap, the fact that you're getting it for free. Whereas with the iPhone, they will never give away free products. You have to, for God's sake, you have to pay an additional $100 just to get the Apple Pencil with the iPad, whereas with Samsung that's included for free, because they want to make everything feel premium and like a luxury, and that's their reputation they go for, and it works. Now, number 10, we're going to round off with the exclusive features that Apple has and what makes them above board with everybody else and much better than everyone else. We're going to start with Apple Fitness. Now, Apple Fitness, if you have it on your TV or even on your phone or your iPad or your MacBook, wherever you watch your Apple Fitness on, if you decide to do a workout, and there's hundreds and hundreds of workouts there. There's workouts, there's meditations, there's HIIT workouts, there's strength conditioning workouts. There's pretty much everything on Apple Fitness, and they're always adding more. Next is AirDrop, and I've spoken about this earlier, but it's a product that Apple have. It's a feature that they have where you can record something on your phone or on your MacBook or anywhere else, iPad, doesn't matter. As long as it's an Apple device, you can then drop that to anyone else with an Apple device or any of your own Apple devices, and it takes seconds as opposed to plugging something in, opposed to spending ages waiting for a download. It just is like bang, seconds, it's done. Just fire an airdrop. As long as the device is nearby, you can do it. This is a simple one, but it's a really fun one, which is copy and paste across devices. If all of your own devices are linked together, you can type out a long message on an iPhone, and then if you decide, actually, I want to send that via an email or save it as a document, you can then just go up to your MacBook, right click, paste, and it pastes the last thing that you copied. Because it's the last thing that you copied across any of your devices, it will then paste on whatever device you want to paste it to. Simple, but decent. Next up is the universal control. Now, if you have a MacBook or an iPad, iPhone, whatever, say for example, you've got a Mac Studio and you want to use all of your devices together, all it takes is a few simple clicks and you can have all of your devices wirelessly sitting next to each other. For example, you could have a desktop set up with a monitor, your MacBook sitting at the side, your iPad sitting on the other side, and you could drag entire files from your desktop over to your MacBook, or entire files from your MacBook over to your iPad. It's that simple. Finally, we're going to round off with Journal. Now, this is a new thing that Apple are adding in their new iOS 17 update, which just brings all of their devices and all of their products together into a Journal app. Now, what this will do is it will collate everything you've done throughout the day, anywhere you've been, any photos you've taken, and it will add them to your journal entry for the day. For example, if you wake up in the morning and you do a workout on Apple Fitness and that is tracked on your phone, then that will then be added to the Journal app. If you've listened to some music on your AirPods via your phone or whatever, that is added to the Journal app. If you go anywhere, your phone will track you via GPS, and then it will say on your Journal app, you visited this place today. Here's some photos or videos you've taken while you've been there. Here's some people you've called. Here's an email you've sent, and it will give you an idea of, I mean, I don't know the extent of it, but this is just a general overview, and it will give you a list of all these things you've done. And then whenever you set the alarm to go off on the app, it will then give you a prompt to do an entry for that day. And it will then say a summary of the music you've listened to, the places you've been, the photos you've taken, the workouts you've done, anything you've done for that day, you can document and save. So there you go, 10 reasons why I think Apple is now better than Android and smashing the competition. But let me know in the comments what you think. It's the age-old question, which is better, Android or Apple?